Mr. White, do we have any testimony from the city administration or the city council?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Turning now to testimony from the public. Mr. White, do we have any individuals registered to testify in person?
No, Chair, and no persons present in person to testify.
Thank you. Moving on with testimony. Mr. White, do we have any persons present that will testify remotely?
No, Chair.
Okay. Moving on to the last item of the testimonies. Mr. White, do we have any submittal testimonies for this hearing?
Yes, Chair, there were two pieces of written testimony submitted to the commission and provided to the commissioners. One from the Honolulu Police Commission, courtesy of the chair, Shannon Olivato, as well as a piece of written testimony from James Williston.
Member commissioners, you should have also before you advanced copies of both testimonies. Mr. Williston's testimony on record to indicate some corrections from his previous month's testimony that was submitted. And Ms. Olivato's testimony is asking the commission that if there should be any increases to the EM's salaries, that they also include the police chief as well as the deputy police chiefs. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, the testimonies that were submitted are considered in record. Going on to agenda item number 5. Annual review of the salaries and salary schedules pursuant to section 3-122 of the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu. Deliberation and decision-making on the permitted interaction groups, with the acronym PIG, proposed no increases to salaries and salary schedules for fiscal year 2022-2023, as presented at the February 24, 2022 meeting of the Salary Commission and published for public hearing on March 17, 2022. And it was published in the daily newspaper of the Honolulu Star Advertiser. On February 24, 2022, the Permitted Interaction Group presented a report that recommended no increase to the salaries and salary schedules for elected and appointed officials covered by the Commission. Pursuant to section 3-122 of the City Charter, these are the positions that are covered by the Salary Commission: Mayor, Council Chair and Council Members, Prosecuting Attorney, and First Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, Managing Director and Deputy Managing Director, Corporation Counsel and First Deputy Corporation Counsel, Department Heads and Deputy Department Heads, Police Chief and Deputy Police Chiefs, Fire Chief and Deputy Fire Chief, Medical Examiner and Deputy Medical Examiner, Band Director, scheduled salaries of deputies at the Corporation Council, and scheduled salaries of the deputies of the Prosecuting Attorney. On March 17, 2022, the Salary Commission held a public hearing to accept testimony on the PIG's recommendation. At this time, pursuant to the Sunshine Law, we are now able to discuss and make a decision on the PIG's recommendation. I would like to open the floor to any commissioner that wish to start the discussion or make comments on the PIG's recommendation. Are there any comments, questions, or recommendations at this time regarding the PIG's report? Hearing none, we are moving on to the agenda. Members, there is a motion to adopt the PIG's recommendation of no increase to the salaries and salary schedules for all elected and appointed officials and positions covered by the Commission for fiscal year 2022-2023. Is there a motion to accept the PIG's recommendation of no increase?
So moved, Commissioner Kubo.
Second, Commissioner Hayakawa.
And was made by Commissioner Kubo and seconded by Commissioner Hayakawa. Are there any discussions regarding the motion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. At this time, Commission members, we need to adopt the findings of fact establishing the salaries and salary schedules for fiscal year 2022-2023. Pursuant to the city charter, any action by the Commission altering salaries shall be made by a resolution accompanied by findings of fact. Since the Commission is not altering the existing salaries or salary schedule, no resolution is required. A transmittal to the mayor and council of findings of fact is recommended to acknowledge this commission's action. At this time, I would like to call a short recess to distribute the draft findings of fact for your review. And in doing so, I wanted to let members of the public know who are on view remotely via the website that it probably will take anywhere from 7 to 15 minutes. If it goes any longer, I will come back from the recess to give you an update, but that's the estimated time the recess will take. So at this time, I'm calling a recess. Commissioners, please stay on the line.
Okay, that's considered testimony.
Yes, written.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
On number 7, the Salary Commission finds that the PIG's recommended no salary increases are consistent with the principles of adequate compensation for work performed. Yet number 6 is, there's a little synergy there with number 6 saying we haven't negotiated, we haven't finalized negotiations yet.
I knew that you were going to raise the issue. What we did, I guess with number 7, and I was not part of the PIG or part of the PIG's discussion, and so jump in, Carolee. What normally on number 7, that's the fairly standard language that was put in when we gave no increases last year. So that's just an exact copy. And it's just a catch-all phrase that was developed last year with the help of the Corporation Council. Yeah. On number 6, I guess, and Carolee, if I misrepresent you, and David, since you were also on the PIG, they just wanted to take note to address that put a lot of emphasis on their decision-making and making the recommendation, that they really wanted to see the bargaining unit 13. So that was one of many factors, but I think they just wanted it in there for emphasis because that was a major factor.
Oh, and number 6 is an important, sorry, Carolee, number 6 is important, but then I'd like to say we're acknowledging that we can't give you a raise at this time because we're tied into the BU.
Okay.
Which then 7 says something differently, consistent with the principles of adequate compensation. They're not, go ahead, Carolee, you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally, and I've been involved with collective bargaining for over 30 years, and the salary commission has always tied in the salaries of the people covered by the salary commission to what Unit 13 negotiated.
I
And I
understand.
double checked again just this morning that nothing has been finalized with Unit 13 at this point.
I just checked.
However, if they do ratify anything or settle, we can always go back next session and retroactively increase the salaries of the people, covered by the salary commission, if that's what we desire. But number seven was put in there because we do recognize that appointees do work a lot and they do work hard to do their public service to run their departments. And
So
I know
Carol,
that because
That's
I
eight.
did that.
You're referring to number
Carolee?
8. I'm
Wait,
referring
can
to number 7.
Wait, can we go back? It's Shannon. So number 6, first of all, we're not tied, we're not officially or legally tied to whatever bargaining unit 13 does. I think it's just because it helps us to establish the amount of raise we would give, we're gonna give it. It helps us to justify it. Number 7 is the language that's in the charter. So the charter says that if we're gonna give a raise, or the salary has to be consistent with the principles of adequate compensation for work performed and preservation of a sensible relationship. That's the purpose of that line, that's in the charter. But because we have that sensible relationship, I think it justifies number 6, because there's a relationship between what salary commission pays, right, with what another bargaining unit does. So there's a relationship between these positions and those positions. So I think that's why we've done it in the past, even though it's not legally required that we're tied to bargaining unit 13, but it helps us relationship.
That's
And
true,
we-
Shannon. It's just been
Yeah.
a traditional thing that they followed what Unit 13 got, because usually the mayor would grant the EMCPs in the city, which are the managers, an increase, and so the department heads for reasonable, consistent compensation should be granted that also. Thanks for
But
the
you,
clarification.
just keep in mind, you cannot go retroactive next year. It's
Got that. We don't say that.
got-
We don't say that. We have I think with, basically this,
Well,
I find
yeah.
7 a little like in your face right now, given that they're not gonna get a raise. Other people are getting raises. No salary increases are consistent with the principles of adequate compensation. Find that phrase, does it have to be there? Are consistent and preserve a sensible relationship.
I think, can I go back, wait, can I go back on this retroactive thing? You cannot go and give a retroactive raise, because the charter says that you've gotta do your raises by May 1st. Set the salary and the salary schedules by May 1st. And the salary and the salary schedule is prospective, it's not retroactive. So when you're not giving a raise, you're just not giving a raise, period.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
yeah, it's true, but in past, when the Unit 13 people got retroactive step movements, the increases were granted to the salary commission appointees July 1st of that year, which covered the past that they didn't get.
No, and I understand that, Carolee. I'm being sensitive to the individuals who are not getting raises, and they, and how this will be received from them. And we, the salary commission, are saying to them that we are giving them no salary consistent with the principles of adequate compensation for their work. When it's not about their work, it's about the BU. Am I missing something?
Well, there's an end there that says first of all, I get your point. And number 2, but it does say end the preservation of a sensible relationship with other things. So, can't we solve this by in the discussion portion, somebody saying we do want to make it clear that one of the primary reasons we aren't doing anything right now is bargaining unit 13, which has often been used as a benchmark, has not settled yet. So we are unable at this time to are we allowed to say that? If somebody's going to dig that deeply.
You can say that. I do get what the vice chair is saying though, because, it is, when we're not giving a raise, but we can't give it retroactively, and bargaining unit 13 comes back next week or next month and comes up with a raise, our folks are not gonna have a raise. But it's that sensible relationship, but we don't know what it is. I'm like thinking, maybe I don't know, I'm trying to.
Well, let me interject here. I think, Malia, you're the only one that's a holdover during the time that, when we had the pandemic. Would that be correct, Malia? From
I think so.
2020?
Yes.
Okay, so as a reminder to you and to the two new commissioners, let me explain something. In 2020, we were set to give raises, and then when the pandemic hit, we were very concerned for the city and county of Honolulu if they could make budget. And as such, we went round and round with the Corp Council because we couldn't say the real reason that we're not giving any raises is because we were unsure with the financial status of the city. And I think, Malia, do you recall that?
Yeah, and let me.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay. So if you do recall that, so what we did do is we used the standard language in number 7 to address the situation because we couldn't talk about budget, we couldn't talk about revenues because it's outside the city charter, the ordinance for the commission. But yet all of us knew, using wisely common sense, that it was up in the air. So the only thing we did was, despite that we couldn't do it verbally, we used the standard language in number 7, and that was the saving grace.
Brian, I get that. I get all of that. But that was pandemic, and everybody went, yeah, okay, pandemic, chaos. Now they all know there's $1 billion out there, and we're about to. I understand what we're doing, but I'm just concerned the sensitivity of us saying principles of adequate compensation of their work performed. So I'm suggesting, if I may, ensure the preservation of a sensible relationship with other city employees, and we take out that adequate compensation phrase right there.
So Vice Chair, that language is required in the charter.
That principle of adequate compensation.
Both components are of that section.
All right.
Well,
And
then
the Commissioner Kubo mentioned, which was you can consider it next year. I mean, you can't go and give a retroactive raise, but you can consider it when you give your raises that year. And I think that's what Commissioner Kubo was saying, right?
Can somebody say that language is required then? Because I think it sounds like crap. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, Chair, you can cite the charter section
Okay.
if you want.
That would be charter section.
3-122.
Can you put in, and more important, and most importantly, to preserve the preservation of the sensible relationship? You put a modifier in front of that, because really that's what it is, right? Because we're waiting for bargaining unit 13.
What we're going to do is an amendment to say pursuant to Charter 3-122.3.
So this is.
Then that's the legal reference.
That's fine.
Malia, is that acceptable?
Okay,
That's
so
acceptable. That's acceptable to me, and that it's just something. If it is something we are required to put in, then we're citing something.
Commissions shall set salaries
Okay.
in accordance. And if you want to read.
No, that's fine. We're just going to say, so if there's no question with item number 6, we're going on to 7. And under number 7, after the period of employees, we're going to take the change a period to a comma, and I'll put down pursuant to section 3-122.3, and that's the specific ordinance language.
If we're
Is
required,
everybody okay with that?
as long as you get what I'm saying, right? Like the reporter asked, at least you can cite that.
Okay. Carol and David, are you okay with just that change? Carol?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, so we're ready to go back on record. Okay. You want to turn anything on? We are returning from recess. The time is at 2:07, and I apologize before I went on recess. The time that I was showing on recess was 1:52, and it is now 2:07 p.m., returning from recess. At this time, the commissioners had an opportunity to review the findings of fact by the 2022 Salary Commission. Based on the discussion, there was a change to item number 7. And item number 7 will be changed as follows. The Salary Commission finds that the PIG's recommended no salary increases are consistent with the principles of adequate compensation for work performed and preservation of a sensible relationship with other city employees pursuant to section 3-122.3 of the charter. Okay. With that change, do we have a motion to adopt the findings of fact by the 2022 Salary Commission?
So moved.
I'll second. Malia Smith, a second.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Kubo and seconded by Vice Chair Commissioner Espinda to approve the findings of fact by the 2022 Salary Commission as distributed with the amended that was just read. At this time, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those that oppose say nay. Motion carried. With the unanimous consent so ordered, the findings of fact has been approved, and Mr. White, will you coordinate in getting your signature on this document in the coming days? I would appreciate if commissioners can make themselves available to do so. Such document will be transmitted by the end of the week. The findings of fact will be submitted to the mayor and the council by absolutely no later than May 1, 2022, in accordance to section 3-122.2 of the city charter.
Yes, Chair, I will coordinate getting signatures of Commissioners Hayakawa, Kubo, Vice Chair Spinda, as well as yourself. And I will be in contact with you all, and I can meet you, or we'll figure out a way to get the signatures, ideally by the end of the week. And I will include all commissioners on the transmittals once all signatures are obtained.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. White. You know, at this time, we're on agenda item number 6, which is the chair's remarks and announcements. Just wanted to say this is our last meeting for this year in order to meet the charter deadline, at least in that portion. But from the chair's perspective, I wanted to express my appreciation to all of you. To Vice Chair Commissioner Spinda, thank you very much for your participation. I know your schedule has been busy with working at the legislature and caretaking duties. Commissioner Kubo, you have been an asset to us. Although you're newly retired, your 30 years of expertise, both working for the union and most recently as director of the Department of Human Resources for the city, has brought a lot of aspect, and you've made a lot of contributions to the Salary Commission, and I appreciate that. And finally, with Commissioner Hayakawa, I don't know how you managed to juggle your entire schedule with your court dates, your and having to do all the legal work as on the firm, and still manage to be able to volunteer with the Salary Commission. I can just tell you that we greatly appreciate your contributions. So thank you, all of you, very, very much. With that, we're on to agenda item number 7, which is adjournment. Are there any further business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, and thank you so much, Chair and all staff.
Thank you, Chair and staff, and Malia and David.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. There's a motion to adjourn made by Commissioner Kubo, seconded by Vice Chair Commissioner Espinda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried. The 2022 Salary Commission has completed its functions as set forth under the city charter. Members are hereby excused subject to call of the chair and to the convening of the 2023 Salary Commission. Thank you all for your participation performing this very important function. This hearing is now adjourned. It is 2:13 p.m.
Thanks all. Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.